Ipsos polling exclusively for Global News shows overall 69% of Canadians feel a Joe Biden victory would be good for Canada. On the other hand, 22% would prefer a Donald Trump victory. Those in Alberta seem to be the most torn between the two candidates, with 45% saying a Biden win would be good for Canada and 39% saying a Trump win would be better. Overall, however, 60% of us worry about potential violence if Trump loses.
The level of trepidation Canadians are regarding the election with. So even though they're pretty sure that Donald Trump is going to lose this election and that Joe Biden will be better for Canada if he becomes president of the United States, about 60% of us are really concerned that there might be violence to the south of the border if President Trump loses. So watching this with anticipation, fairly sure how it's going to turn out, but worried about the consequences. No, it's not really new and shocking in Canada. It's usually when there's a Republican president or it's likely that a Republican president is going to win, Canadians' reaction tends to be somewhat negative. So, for example, I go back as far as Ronald Reagan, and his polling numbers in Canada were not good. Both George Bush's, their polling numbers weren't particularly good, although George Bush 1 was better than George Bush 2. But certainly Clinton was more popular. Barack Obama was more popular in Canada. So this is a fairly typical pattern. What seems to be new, though, is this concern about what could happen in the United States as a result of a candidate losing, which is not something that frankly, we haven't felt a need to test before. And I was really surprised by the level of concern that Canadians have. It really points to a bigger concern, I think, that exists for the United States generally, not just among Canadians, but around the world, whether, Donald Trump was just kind of like a one-off freaky type of accident, or whether he's representative of really deep divisions in American society that will continue on regardless of who is elected president in this next election, and that the constituencies behind both particularly Mr. Trump, are prone to doing things that are antisocial and potentially violent. That's something that is pretty new. I mean, if we were doing polling like this back in the 1960s, say around 1968, when the United States was going through between 68 and 70, very similar sorts of things, not as strong on the right as obviously on the left that time around, but given that Canadians are watching, and as we see in the polling, pretty closely what's going on in the United States, and they're seeing scenes that are, pretty shocking in the reporting. They're worried that this will be one of the outcomes if President Trump loses.